Hello, friend. I'm Raphael. Try to imagine you are standing in front of a beautiful house. Solid foundation, pristine white walls, windows reflecting the brilliant sun. You think that house will stand firm for 100 years, despite storms. But then, on a beautiful morning, with no storms, no earthquakes, that house suddenly collapses. It crumbles into pieces. Why? Because deep inside those glamorous walls, millions of termites have been silently gnawing at every fiber of wood for years. Marriage is the same. We often fear big storms like affairs or bankruptcy. But the brutal truth is, most marriages don't die from a single fatal stab to the heart. They die from 1,000 tiny cuts every day. They die from silence, from contemptuous eye rolls, from insensitive jokes, things we click our tongues at and ignore. Today, I want to tell you the story of Mark and Elena, a couple the whole world once admired. They had everything: money, fame, and a love that started like a fairy tale. But then, they killed their own marriage in just one night. A fateful night that converged all 5 doses of poison that I absolutely forbid. Sit down, take a deep breath, and step into Mark and Elena's living room with me to see if you can see the shadow of yourself in their tragedy. It was Mark and Elena's 10th wedding anniversary, a cold winter night in Manhattan, New York. But inside their $5 million penthouse, it was warm and brilliant with lights. Mark, 38, was a genius architect, handsome, elegant in a tailored Armani suit. Elena, 36, was a talented painter who had retreated to the background. She was gorgeous in a wine-red silk dress, but her eyes held a sadness that makeup couldn't hide. Everything looked perfect. Premium champagne, imported white roses, and guests who were Mark's important business partners. But the tragedy began sparking right from the first clinking of glasses. Mark stood up, tapping his glass lightly to attract attention. The whole room fell silent. Mark began his thank you speech. He thanked the partners for trusting the company. He thanked his mother, Mrs. Sarah, sitting in the most honored position, for raising him. He spent 10 minutes praising his mother. And then he turned to Elena. Everyone waited for romantic words, but Mark, perhaps due to a bit of alcohol, or perhaps wanting to appear humorous in front of his businessman friends, laughed and said, "And of course, thank you, Elena. Thank you for spending all the money I earned buying clothes, thanks to which I have the motivation to plow day and night like a buffalo. Let's raise a glass for my beautiful money-spending machine." The whole room laughed loud. Mark's mother laughed the loudest, applauding her son's joke. Only Elena stood frozen. The smile on her lips stiffened. Her hand gripped the stem of the wineglass so hard her knuckles turned white. She wasn't a parasite. She sacrificed her rising painting career in Paris to follow Mark back to the U.S., take care of the kids and manage the family so he could rest assured building his empire. But in the most glorious moment, in front of outsiders and her mother-in-law, Mark chose to degrade her to please the crowd. He committed the first taboo, prioritizing the feelings of outsiders over the self-esteem of the spouse. The party ended. They sat in the luxurious Mercedes to return home. The atmosphere inside the car was colder than the blizzard outside. Elena spoke up, her voice trembling, but trying to remain calm. "Mark, why did you say that? You turned me into a gold-digging doll in front of your partners. I feel humiliated." Mark, still hyped from the party, frowned in annoyance. Stop it, Elena. It was just a joke. You're being too sensitive. My mom laughed too. Everyone laughed. Why are you the only one with a long face? Because it wasn't a joke. It was disrespect. Elena raised her voice. And this is when Mark pulled out the second weapon, the debt book. Mark hit the steering wheel. Disrespect! You say I disrespect last week. Who spent $50,000 to renovate the art studio for you? Who pays the international school tuition for the kids? Who took your whole family traveling to Europe last year? I do everything. I pay every bill. And you just stay at home and be beautiful. Today I'm tired. I just made one joke and you're calculating with me? Mark committed the second taboo, scorekeeping mindset. He converted love into money. He remembered what he had given to use as a weapon to gag the other person when there was conflict. He turned marriage into a fair commercial transaction. I spend money, you have to endure. They got home. The anger escalated into a war. Elena threw her handbag onto the sofa. She cried, not out of anger, but out of hurt. I don't need your money, Mark. I need understanding. Do you know how lonely I've been lately? I have insomnia. I feel lost right in this house. Elena was opening up. She was showing Mark her weakness, waiting for a hug. But Mark right now wasn't a husband anymore. He was a lawyer wanting to win a case. He recalled a secret Elena had spoken during their most passionate nights about an alcoholic father who abandoned her when she was young. Mark turned around, looked straight into Elena's eyes, and delivered the fatal blow. Lonely? Lost? Or are you starting to go crazy like your junkie father again? Look at yourself, always playing the victim. No wonder your dad left. He probably was sick of this whining of yours, too. Elena was stunned. She recoiled as if slapped. The most painful secret, the deepest wound of her childhood, was just dragged out by the person she loved most as a weapon to attack her. That was the third taboo, using the spouse's weakness as a lethal weapon. Elena's hurt turned into rage. She screamed, "You bastard! How dare you mention my father!" But instead of apologizing, Mark showed an expression even crueler than words. He rolled his eyes. He smirked, a contemptuous smile. "Oh, look at you. Look at that face streaming with tears. Looks pathetic. Is this a great painter? You look no different than a brat throwing a tantrum right now." Mark wasn't just angry. He was despising Elena. He placed himself in a superior position, the earner, the rational one, and looked down on Elena as an inferior creature, the parasite, the emotional one. According to Gothman Institute research, this is the #1 toxin predicting divorce: contempt. When contempt appears, love is dead. Only disgust remains. That night, Mark went into his office and locked the door. Elena lay crying alone in the cold bedroom. The next morning, Elena woke up with swollen eyes. The anger had subsided. She wanted to talk. She wanted to resolve the issue. She knocked on Mark's door. "Mark, we need to talk. I'm sorry for raising my voice, but we need to resolve this." No answer. Mark walked out of the room, walking past Elena as if she were invisible. He didn't look at her, didn't say a word. He got coffee, grabbed his briefcase, and walked straight to the door. Elena ran after him. "Mark, don't be silent like that! Say something!" Mark put on his headphones, stepped into the elevator, and let the door close in front of his desperate wife. He blocked her phone number. He went on a business trip for 3 days without a message. He thought he was avoiding conflict, but actually he was performing the final taboo, stonewalling or cold violence. He cut off the oxygen supply of the relationship, leaving the other person to slowly die in panic and loneliness. 3 days later, Mark returned home. He thought the punishment was enough. Elena must have known fear and would be more obedient. He even bought a diamond necklace as a wipe-clean gift, according to his money-solving mindset. He opened the door. The penthouse was silent. No smell of food, no music. On the dining table, where the cold dinners took place, before only a piece of paper and Elena's wedding ring remained. The paper wrote briefly, "Mark, I can endure poverty, I can endure hardship, but I cannot endure contempt. When you dragged the pain about my father out to mock, and when you silently left yesterday, you didn't just kill love, you killed my trust. I return the house, money, and glamour to you. I'm going to find the Elena of the past, the person you lost." Mark collapsed. He had money, fame, victory in every argument, but he lost the only person who truly loved his real self, not his wallet. Thank you for listening. I am Raphael, your companion on your happiness journey. See you again in the next stories. Friends, Mark and Elena's story sounds dramatic, but it is happening silently in millions of homes every day. Mark isn't a demon. Elena isn't a saint. They are just normal people not equipped with skills to handle conflict. They let 5 monsters invade their marriage. Let's review together the 5 absolutely forbidden things that Mark committed so you never walk that path. First, absolutely do not prioritize outsiders over your spouse. At the party, Mark chose to please the crowd instead of protecting his wife's self-esteem. Remember, husband and wife are an alliance. When you side with outsiders, even parents or friends, to oppose or degrade your spouse, you are personally breaking that alliance. In front of the world, always hold your spouse's hand. Any criticism? Keep behind closed doors. Second, absolutely do not have a scorekeeping mindset. I spend money, so I have the right. Yesterday, you washed dishes, so today I have to mop the floor. Love is not an accounting ledger. When you start calculating gains and losses, you turn your loved one into a competitor. Don't give expecting to receive immediately. Give because you want the other person to be happy. Third, absolutely do not weaponize vulnerabilities. This is the cruelest behavior. The secrets, fears they told you during pillow talk are treasures needing protection, not an ammunition depot for you to drag out and shoot them when arguing. Once you use their weakness to attack, the door of trust will close forever. Fourth, absolutely do not show contempt. The smirk, the eye roll, words like useless, what do you know? That is acid corroding marriage. Instead of attacking their dignity by saying, "You are lazy," complain about specific behavior, like saying, "I'm sad because you haven't cleaned the kitchen." Respect the other person even when you're angriest. Fifth, absolutely do not use stonewalling. Toxic silence is scarier than shouting. When you are silent and walk away, you are telling them your existence is not worth my bother. If you are too angry, say, "I need 20 minutes to calm down, then we will talk." Never walk away without setting a time to return. Dear friends, a broken glass can be glued back, but it will never hold water as well as before. Sharp words, contempt, and cruel silence will leave indelible scars in the spouse's soul. Today, look at the person lying next to you. Ask yourself, am I unintentionally nurturing any of the 5 termites mentioned above? If yes, stop immediately. Apologize before it's too late. Don't wait until the house collapses like Mark's. At that time, all regret becomes meaningless. Thank you for listening. I am Raphael, your companion on your happiness journey.
See you again in the next stories.